Hi, I'm Todd Henderson. Today I want to show you how to install the Steelcraft LED bull bar on this 2016 Tacoma. Now, if you have the optional aluminum skid plate from the factory, that will need to be removed and will not be able to go back on. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, we've already installed a 6-inch lift kit on this truck, so we had to remove the air dam. If we did not have an air dam, we would have to pull that off right now. There's just some locations where we pull out factory bolts. The whole thing comes right off. It's very simple. Now, this right here is part of your frame. Now, we also need to access the places where the bumper bolts onto the frame. In order to do that, we need to get this piece of plastic out of the way. This plastic is actually all a part of the inner fender well, and we're not going to remove that. We're just going to kind of pull it back and slide it out of the way, like so. And now we can access the bolts up here that hold the bumper to the frame. So you can see where I've moved the inner fender well out of the way. Now we've got two 14mm nuts that are on these factory bolts. We're going to remove those and get those out of the way. Now this is actually what holds your bumper to your frame. And there's actually one more on the opposite side that we're not going to remove, so you don't have to worry about your bumper falling off while you're doing this. Okay, the one that's up on top is going to take a little bit more work to get out just because you got a lot less room to work on it. This is our passenger side bracket. These two holes right here are going to line up to the bolts that we just took those factory nuts off of. Next, we're going to take the factory nuts and loosely set them back onto the bolts. We're not going to tighten them down all the way at this point. All right, now we're going to have an oval hole right here. We're going to need next a spacer washer that's going to go in between the bracket and the frame. And then behind the frame, we're going to insert a very large bolt with the largest washers that we have other than the spacer washer. That's going to come from behind and go all the way through. Once we've got that through, we're going to put another washer. Again, this is the largest other than the spacer washer. We'll slide that over top of the bolt along with a nylock nut. And we're going to use a 17mm wrench and ratchet. Now we've got that bracket in place, we're going to repeat the same process on the opposite bracket on the other side. All right, next in your kit, you're going to find your smallest diameter bolt. You have a lock washer, it slides over top of that, and the smallest washers in the kit you're going to run over top of that same bolt. You're going to take your bracket that looks just like this. This is your bracket for mounting the bull bar to the main bracket. You're going to set these oval shaped holes over these threaded holes in the bull bar. Then once we got that in place, we're going to take our bolt and we're going to run them through, get them finger tight. All right, so we're going to line up the tabs to the outside of our bracket. Once they're lined up on each side, we're going to go ahead and slide through the far hole. We're going to put a bolt through there with a washer. And then we're going to take another washer on the opposite side with a nylock nut. I'm just going to get it set in place. Now these are your middle-sized bolts and washers. Now we're going to rotate it up and line up the next set of bolts. We're going to washer and nylock nut on that bolt as well. Now before we rock this back towards the bumper, we're going to go ahead and apply a little bit of painter's tape on the bull bar itself so it's not rubbing up against the bumper and damaging the paint. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of pull the bull bar away from the vehicle as we rotate it up to the bumper. And then once we get it to where it's set straight up and down, we're going to go ahead and tighten down all 4 bolts with a 16mm wrench and a 17mm ratchet. All right, now that we've got everything lined up, we're going to go ahead and tighten down the bracket to the bull bar using a 13mm. We've got 4 bolts, going to do 2 on each side. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten up all the hardware that holds the brackets to the frame on both sides. All right, now we're going to go ahead and pop this back into place. Now, because there's lots of different ways you can route this, we definitely recommend professional installation for any kind of wiring, but it is a very simple, straightforward plug-and-play harness that connects directly to your battery. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts. We're here to help you out.